You too.
I feel like I have seen you all over TikTok, and before even we were doing this
No.
live, we were doing, or I knew about your company, so I'm excited to get to know a little bit more about you. Oh, I didn't hit go live on the on the
It's okay.
Facebook.
I need to back up, huh? Do you speak? Can you? Okay.
I can see you. Yeah, no, you're all set,
Okay.
and I can hear you good.
Okay, great.
Let me just make sure I add Dr. Yen as well. But any information you want to share to get everyone pumped for this live?
We're just really excited to be here. People on birth control are definitely our users, and so excited to chat about it more with Dr. Yen and just chat through different things. Valentine's Day is coming up, so it's a very relevant topic.
Definitely. Yes, I'm super excited. Yeah, I know sexual health. Hi. Is one of those things. Also, I forgot to mention this. Today's February 1st. Happy I'm definitely not going to say this right. Happy Black History Month. I know that. And Lunar New Year. Correct?
Exactly.
Amazing.
I never wear red only for today.
Oh, true. That's actually very valid. But I feel like it's kind of fitting too, like periods, all that kind of stuff. So it kind of it works out. So again, apologies for like the awkward intro. I'm like streaming on two screens and I can see myself on both, and one is a little behind. So I'm like, this is strange. But anyway, I wanted to get started with just a brief intro about who you both are, so that before we get started, everyone is just kind of like all on the same page. So Dr. Yan, I'll have you go first.
Hey, I'm Dr. Sophia Yen, and for all you ladies out there, my mom said always claim all your titles. So claim every single title that you possibly claim. I'm CEO and co-founder of Pandia Health, and Pandia Health is the only women-founded and women-led and the only doctor-led birth control delivery company. We're building the online health brand Women Trust, and we're starting with birth control. We're going to launch acne soon, and then for the older ones out there, menopause.
Yes, can't wait. I definitely don't know how to tackle that. So ready for that information for sure. Francis, go for it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Frances. I'm founder, CEO. I love Captain Awkward as the title, so I have to claim it, of Awkward Essentials. We are a company that creates products for the awkward things that happen behind the bathroom door that nobody wants to talk about. So, our first product is an after sex cleanup product called Dripstick. And we're just on a mission to talk about all the weird crotch care things that you do but have never wanted to talk about.
Yes. Also, we just got a comment saying, love your product. So yay. We love any sexual health products. And I also just wanted to mention at the beginning that all the things we mentioned this evening are just options. There are so many things out there, and truly we are just here to educate and inform. We're not saying these are end all be all, but these are things that have been tested by doctors and also by women who understand people with uterus, their bodies. So again, just things that we would offer, but also nothing is ever required. So just going into it with an open mindset. Would you say?
No one's saying you have to do anything. We are all about choice and option and
Yes.
informed consent and being informed.
Yes. Oh, also someone just said small world. I knew you would all converse at some point. I love that. I feel like we need to do more collabs. We'll talk about that at the end. But anyway, so first topic I wanted to discuss was just a little bit about aftercare. Oh, I'm totally putting the screen on the wrong thing. Anyway, a little bit about after sex care. I feel like there's this thing I see all the time on TikTok that's like aftercare, and I had never heard of that. And also before care. So best practices kind of before and after sex. If we wanted to talk a little bit about that, Francis, if we want to start with you, that would be great.
So before sex, I mean, I think this is very much up Dr. Yen's alley. As
Yes.
we know, getting tested. Maybe I should let you take this one since this is very much like getting tested, birth control. This is
Yeah.
you.
Let me start and you chime in. As an adolescent medicine specialist, I did double the training to specialize in what we call sex, drugs, rock and roll, a little acne, and some sports medicine. So to prepare for sex, we'll talk about maybe consent a little later, but first of all, make sure that nobody has any diseases. Certainly, if you both are virgins and no one's been sexually assaulted, sexually molested, then fine. But if either of you have had any other partners in your life, it's suggested anybody under the age of 26 every single year at the least get checked for chlamydia and be offered an HIV test as well, because these are two diseases you can absolutely have no symptoms whatsoever and then catch it or give it without knowing. So please, if you're sexually active, get tested for chlamydia at least once a year under the age of 26. HIV never hurts. And then some people, they do gonorrhea and chlamydia. It just depends on the prevalence, because if it's less than 2%, then you can have a false positive, and that would just be, messed up. But the tests are very, very good right now. And then in general, I just assume everyone has every disease, because better safe than sorry. And the example I give is you could bring in a penis and I'd be like, that's the cleanest penis I've ever seen. And then you have sex with it, and then a week later, bloop, 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 you got all these warts. And I was like, oh, sorry, my bad. We as doctors, we only call it when we see it. There is an extra test we could do. We could pour vinegar on it. And then if it had warts, it might light up, and that's actually what we do in a colposcopy for a woman is we put in this thing and we paint her cervix with vinegar. And the HPV cells suck it up and turns this white. We call it aceto white because it's acetic acid from the vinegar turns white. But you could do that on a penis and see it. But again, you can pour peanut and still don't know. And then I tell those people with penises going into a vagina, it is a long, dark cavern with all these cracks and crevices. And even if you brought the vagina to me, and again, I stuck my speculum in, and I'm like, that looks clean. And then you have sex with it. And then 2 weeks later, bloop, 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 bloop. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't clean. And so with HPV, we only call it when we see it. And I think it's really important for those of us with uteruses having heterosexual relations to know that there is no commercially available HPV test for men. It's only done in research studies. So if your person has not signed up for an HPV research study, had their penis sandpapered and then sent to the lab, then they were not tested for HPV. And it is the #1 STI out there. And although I hope all of you got your vaccines, particularly for HPV, it covers 9 strains, but there's 160 strains. So there's 151 strains you are not covered for. So just assume everybody has every disease. And I, in general, would, advocate using a condom.
Yes. I think it's also just important to note, I remember after the last live, which by the way, check it out. It's on our YouTube channel featuring One Condoms and Sex Ed Boot Camp. Super informative. I remember getting some comments being like, I'm never going to have sex. Like, this is horrible. But I think it's important to note that with proper communication and safety, like, it's okay to have sex and it can be safe, and you just have to take kind of the right precautions for it. And that's why it's so important to educate and just be aware of all the things out there, so that when you finally get to it, you can feel comfortable, you can have fun, and it'll just make it more enjoyable too. So yeah, thank you for all that info. And Francis, if you want to add anything for the aftercare sex, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So something that helped me get through the HPV vaccine was looking at a picture of Tree Man while I was getting it, because it kind of hurt. And it's like this really kind of terrifying photo of what could happen. And so just like a little mental pro tip if you're getting one that really hurts. But before, I also definitely want to add lube. I'm sure you talked about lube on your live with One Condoms, but super important, and a weird thing that people sometimes like feel awkward about or like don't want to talk about, but we have a lot of friends in the space, and so definitely worth calling it out. So for aftercare, this is definitely also up Dr. Yen's alley, but always pee. If you've ever had a UTI, oh my gosh, it feels like the devil's trying to rip out your urethra. It is terrible. I remember my first UTI, I was sleeping on the second bunk bed in college. And so like I just slept on the floor and everything was closed and I couldn't even get cranberry juice. It was awful. So just pee after sex, please. I would never want anyone to go through that. And finish your antibiotics, because something that I was not told when I had my first UTI was to finish the whole bottle. I felt better after half the bottle, and then
it came back.
Yeah, that was I'm very upset that they never gave me that piece of information. But at Awkward Essentials, what we do is we make a product called Dripstick, which is an after sex cleanup sponge. So, assuming you're tested, you're safe, you're with a partner that is regular, or you're married to, or whatever, it's for people that like to not use condoms. So, they like penis and vagina sex, and they prefer when the man finishes inside of them. And so it is something that we don't talk about. We don't really see it in movies. We don't see it in books. You kind of see it in porn, but not really.
Yeah.
And so Dripstick was created because I just wanted to be more comfortable personally. I'm married, I have a husband, and just the drippiness the next day, I didn't like it. And so it's an option for those of you who might be looking for something, or if you like it, that's totally fine too.
Yeah,
Yes.
the concern I've heard from the medical community is that if you're not in a monogamous relationship, then if anyone has any sexually transmitted infections, if you do this kind of motion, you might be spreading the sexually transmitted infection around. But I'm like, if you're already in the situation where the semen is free, then you've got the risk of sexually transmitted infection. But if you are like me and my husband, we were blessed to come into our relationship as high school students, virgins, and hopefully none of us have played around since. And so we can go with or without a condom. I personally like a condom, and when I carry around, I have to, show the trademark condom
We love it.
third child. People are like, you're married. Why do you have condoms? Are you cheating on your husband, you slut? And I was like, no, I just don't like to drip semen for 24 hours. So I totally get it. And I actually did some seminal research on bacterial vaginosis. And I heard, Francis, I don't know if you're allowed to say it. Are you allowed to say what you've heard anecdotally from some of the people that have used your product?
You can tell us what you've heard.
Okay, well, I've heard, and it makes sense, that semen is a foreign body, and semen is actually an alkaline fluid. And we actually do a test when you come in with vaginal discharge. It's called the saline prep and then the whiff test, literally the whiff test. So we take your discharge and we put it on a slide, and that's saline, and we run it to the microscope and we looked at it. And then the other one is we have a drop of potassium hydroxide, which is alkaline, same kind of pH as semen. And then we smell it, and you're like, oh my God, why is the doctor whiffing my discharge on top of a slide? But if that's positive, then it indicates bacterial vaginosis or trichomonas, and it just says that there's abnormal bacteria going on. And so 30% of women that get bacterial vaginosis, it's going to come again, because whatever brought it on will bring it again. And some people it's semen, and some people it's their time of month. So that sucks, because every time your time of month happens, you're going to get bacterial vaginosis. Other people's foreign bodies, other people's oral sex. So like if you do kind of a flavored lube or something, or that has like, don't put weird things, necessarily up there. Definitely not sea sponges, which we've gone over before. So getting any foreign body out of your vagina may decrease your risk of bacterial vaginosis. And I just want everybody to know that in your vagina, you have bacteria and yeast living in harmony. And if you throw something in there like semen, or like, God forbid, never douche, right? Or anything to make your down there smell like a flower, then it'll mess things up. And so the sooner you can get out the semen, I think definitely the better. And so you can Kegel it, you can use a condom, you can use Awkward Essentials, whatever it takes. But just, we want everybody to know it's definitely an option for anybody who is at no risk for STIs in a monogamous relationship that wants to get the semen out.
Yes. I love the Kegel it option. That's so funny. Which, like, great. It's a good exercise for your pelvic floor, but also, like, would you rather just use something a little quicker? Again, your body, your choice. But something I love that you mentioned that. And I think it's important to share all the different options, and also why, like, it is not necessarily crucial to get semen out of your vagina, but why it can be beneficial. I think that's great. A lot of people misunderstand that. To be honest, I didn't understand that. No, I'm glad I do. So this is actually a perfect segue in terms of talking about sex without condoms, which again, it is an option. While we do always recommend condoms if you're with a new partner or just in general trying to prevent pregnancy, that said, you might get into a situation where you are having sex without a condom. If you're safe with a monogamous partner, it's an option for you, which is great. So I want to talk a little bit about birth control, which is a great option if you are in a situation like that and you don't want to get pregnant. So Dr. Yan, I'll have you take it away. And then Francis, if you want to share any experiences that like you've had with birth control or anything like that, you do not have to, but you're welcome to after the fact.
All right.
Ahead.
So I like to say, as long as I'm CEO, again, Pandia Health, we're the only doctor-led birth control delivery company. We will always tell you what's best for your health, even if it doesn't benefit our bottom line. So at Pandia Health, we can only prescribe the pill, the patch, the ring, and sometimes the shot, but we cannot do the IUD or the implant because that's a physical procedure that you have to go into a doctor's office. But if you ask me, what's the best birth control out there? The latest paradigm in birth control counseling is you start with the best and you work your way down. So the best possible birth control is actually the implant. It beats vasectomy, which is like the gold standard. And for those of you who don't know, vasectomy is snip, snip on the dude. And then comes the IUD with hormone. And then comes tubal ligation, which is snip, snip on those people with uteri. So it blows my mind that these two reversible forms of birth control beat the permanent kinds of birth control. And then comes the shot, and then the ring, the patch, and the pill. And I wanted to do some show and tell today because I was excited.
Yes.
Look at Twirla. It is nice. It is flexible. It's soft. Other patches are kind of plasticky and they're square. Someday I think they should come in different colors. I think they should have logos on them. I want like Valentino, or I want the Nike swoosh or something like that. And then just a comparison size. We have our periods optional sticker. We just got a whole batch of them. If anybody wants, hit us up. Maybe we'll send them to you. But look how small this is, right? And you can compare it to my lips, you can compare it to my nose, compare it to my eye. So that's the Twirla patch. And then I also wanted to highlight the pills. If none of you have seen this, usually most pills have 3 packs of one color. And then on the bottom, either one whole color or like some mix of some odd things. Some of them have 24 of one color and then 4 of the other. So when we say skip the placebo and go to the next pack, you should leave this last week and then just go straight into the next pack if you're trying to skip your periods. And know that you can use the pill, the patch, the ring, the IUD, the implant, the shot to skip your periods and make #periods optional. But just with the patch, you have to, after 12 weeks, stop, come off for a week, have a bleed, and go again. Because with the patches, the estrogen builds up, and then you have risk of blood clot and death. And then just more show and tell. I have the Awkward Essentials eggplant.
Yes.
Like, mommy, why do you have an eggplant sticker? Well, and she knows what the eggplant stands for. So I was like, you know what the eggplant stands for, because she's been doing my Pandia Health pitch for birth control forever. And people see my condoms and like, how can you do that in front of your children? And I was like, it's a pill that you take every day to prevent babies when you don't want them. It's something you put on a male part to prevent babies and sexually transmitted diseases when you don't want them. So, it's just about telling people, kids, birds and bees, what it is, so nobody gets diseases and nobody gets pregnant if they don't want to get pregnant. And then last show and tell, just because it was in the pack, high choose. If you sign up for Health's free delivery service, our default is high choose, but sometimes we have deals with like Awkward Essentials. You could maybe get a discount or some samples, as well as we've done condoms, we've done lube, and we've definitely done the periods optional sticker and other stuff.
Yes, I have that sticker right now on my laptop. It's great. I love like bringing it places and showing it off, and people are like, "What?" And I'm like, "Let me explain." But yeah, no, it's so true. Also, we did get a question. Where is a good spot to put the patch?
So the patch can be put on your upper outer arm. It can be put on buttocks. I believe it can be put on your abdomen. They don't want it anywhere near the boobs, not because it causes breast cancer, but if you put it on the boob and you get breast cancer, they don't want you to blame them or sue them. Not related, but just, you know, they're very, and they don't, I think they've even avoided the inner arm because they're like, don't want any of you accusing them of breast cancer. It has not been affiliated with breast cancer, but breast cancer happens like, I think 1 in 8 women eventually, right? So.
Can you shower with it?
Yes, you can shower, you can sauna, you can swim. They've done tests in saunas, in swimming, and they've actually, the Twirla is like V2 of the patch. In the old days, the doctors were not into the patch because those ones had high estrogen and greater risk of blood clot and death. And so no doctor wants that. This new one was specifically designed to have normal dose, just like the rest of the birth control pills, 30 micrograms-ish of estrogen released in the blood, and also extra sticky. The key with the patch on the stickiness is you take a bath, you pat it down, and you put it on. Don't put lotion and then put it on because the lotion will eat through the adhesive. That's kind of just logic, you know?
Yeah, love that. The periods optional thing is very interesting, and I feel like you're one of the only people who really talks about it that openly. So, I mean, I did that when actually I was in college, and I thought it was really cool, but it's not something that is discussed very often. Like, can you, I guess, for the people joining on our side, can you just tell them more about what that means?
Yes. So, we as physicians have known that you don't have to bleed every single month on the birth control pill patch ring because that bleed is not a period. It's a withdrawal bleed. And the way the pill patch ring works is it keeps your hormone up for 3 weeks. And then that last week is sugar pills, and they're just placeholder pills, or sometimes they're brown and they throw down some iron because you're losing blood. They're trying to replace your iron. But that last week could happen every 3 months, every 6 months, or never. And there were actually 3 founders, and one founder was a devout, everyday Catholic. And he's like, I'm going to get this through the Catholic Church, because if we can make periods regular, then the Catholic Church is fine because we'll just avoid sex on your fertile days. And he got it through the nuns. He got it through the priests, but the Pope figured it out and vetoed it. But what a different world it would have been had he gotten it through the Pope. And his 2 co-founders were PhDs. And they're like, Dr. Rock, why do you make a woman bleed every month? You know, you could be every 3 months, could be every 6 months. And I bet you if there'd been somebody with a uterus on that 3-founder team, I would have said, no. Let women choose. You can choose to bleed every 4 weeks, every 12 weeks, or never. I personally haven't bled for 12 years, as long as I remember to take my pill every single day. And if I forget, then I have to bleed, and it makes me sad. Part of the reason you haven't heard about it so much is that, you know, doctors want to make sure everything's safe before we recommend it to you. And now that it's been, is it 60 years that the birth control pill has been out? We've used it continuously in people with cancer, with bleeding disorders, all sorts of other things. And we realize we now have the numbers and the statistics of women being on the pill, that by not bleeding every single month, you decrease your risk of endometrial cancer, because every time you grow that lining, it could mutate and you could get endometrial cancer. And every time you pop out an egg, we don't know if it's the popping or the healing, you could get ovarian cancer. And then also I'd love to bring out, because this is awkward, that 30% of those of us with uteruses, when you get your period, you'll have some sort of GI side effect. So diarrhea or constipation. And that then causes colon cancer, because it's the stopping or the extra grunting that is causing colon cancer. And so by having fewer periods, you can decrease ovarian, endometrial, colorectal cancer, your chance of anemia. And by having a stable hormone, instead of 3 weeks and then drop, and then 3 weeks and then drop, or without birth control pill patch ring, up and down, up and down, up and down, you know, having a stable hormone is good for asthma, arthritis, diabetes, seizures, and then not bleeding every month decreases anything that has M in it. So if you have PMS, PMDD, if we get rid of the M, you don't have that syndrome. You don't have that disorder. And for me, it was acne. Every single month I'd get the North Star. And then after my hormones got stable, never again. never again the North Star. And I'm seeing it in my daughter, 15 years old. She's getting the North Star. And I was like, it's time to consider making #periods optional. And then you were just saying, as married people, but as a mother, Tiger Mom, my daughter's going to crush your daughter SAT, because my daughter won't have a 1 in 4 chance of bleeding on the SAT. We will at least move it away from the SAT, away from finals, away from band practice or sports or other things. And then if, the number one question is, that's not natural. Aren't we supposed to bleed every single month? And if you go to pandiahealth.com/periods optional, there's my TEDx talk, and it goes over how it's actually more natural to have fewer periods, that we are having 350 to 400 periods when what is natural would be 100.
Wow.
Sounds much nicer.
Yeah, it really does. It's also nice, I feel like, in a world where people with with uteri, our bodies are so controlled, I feel like more so than other individuals. And so it's nice to have some sort of autonomy. I was literally just texting with my cousin about this today. We're going to a wedding in 2 weeks, and she was like, should I just skip my period? I'm supposed to get it. And I was like, yes, 100%. So yeah, don't have to worry about bleeding in the dress, which is great. So it's just nice to be able to do that. And right, if you're doing the SAT or the GRE, if you're going to grad school, or I can't even imagine doing the MCAT with a period. That sounds horrible. Yeah, also I saw this is so funny, someone just commented with like the mind blown emoji about periods optional. And it's true, it's because people don't talk about it that much, and that's why it is important that if you are learning this information, to share it with others, because who knows, you could be really helping someone out and preventing endometriosis and things like that. So all about spreading the word with, of course, information that is from a doctor. That's super important too. And you can also always ask your own doctor, because odds are they'll have more information than maybe that's more specific to your own body, which is great. So this leads us into our last question, which again, like perfect segue. So Frances talked a little bit about the drip stick, which is super cool. And if you have anything else you wanted to share about that, that would be great. I just wanted to ask both of you any tips on how to be a female in the reproductive health kind of entrepreneurial position. I'd love to shift gears and talk a little bit about that. We talked about this in our live, actually right around this time last year with Lovability, about just how to be an entrepreneur, especially in the field of reproductive health. So I would love to hear any tips that both of you have. And again, if you want to promote anything like the drip stick or any other products that you're maybe launching anytime soon, that would be awesome. So yeah, Frances, go ahead.
It's hard.
Yeah, I bet.
I think Dr. Yen would probably agree. It's really tough. It's a space where there haven't been a lot of women, to be honest, and just a lot of innovation. So I think a lot of our minds go like, oh, like, we often get asked this, like, did a man create this product? And it's like, no, I wanted to be comfortable. I don't really, I care about him, but not like that much. And so like, I think it's just really important to go into the space with courage and finding other founders and like building that community. The femtech community is really strong. Like me and Dr. Yen had been on another panel before. That's how we connected. Yes. And having that support, because I think that when you're venturing into a space like this and there's so few of us, you just need that support and you need that community. And exactly what you preface this entire conversation with, Sarah, which is like, all bodies are different, all people are different, all preferences are different. There's not like one right way or one right thing that you need. And sometimes I think with the proliferation of social, we kind of like battled those notions because there's a lot of opinions out there. And so just coming into it with an open mind, with like friends and a community that can be there to support you, is probably the best way to do it. But it's fun. I think, and probably your team gets this too, the kind like DMs and emails that we get from people make it totally worth it, right? Like this has bothered me my entire life and I just have never talked to anyone about it. Like, this is crazy. Or I thought there was something wrong with me. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's totally fine. And so it definitely makes the journey worth it.
Yes, that's awesome. Dr. Young, go ahead.
I think it's so great that women are innovating for women and that we're coming here and creating products to solve our issues, right? And that's why Pandia Health was founded. I was giving a talk to a bunch of doctors, and the top reason why women don't take their birth control is they didn't have it in their hand. And my friend and I are like, we could solve this. We will just ship you birth control and keep shipping it to you until you tell us to stop. And then we ran ads, free birth control delivery. 60% of the women that responded didn't have a prescription. It's like, don't you know in the United States you need a prescription? And I'm a doctor. I can write birth control prescriptions. And thus Pandia Health was born. The end-to-end solution. If you have a prescription, we can just do the delivery. We'll bill your insurance and we'll include something delightful every single time. Set it and forget it. Let Pandia worry so you don't have to. And if you need to, $20 once a year to use our expert birth control doctors that can prescribe according to race, BMI, and age, as well as your other health history. But I personally wrote 2,000 birth control prescriptions in 2 years and looked at the side effects by race, and what works for a Caucasian female doesn't necessarily work for the rest of us. So looking at it, studying it, and realizing this birth control pill works better with fewer side effects. So if you haven't started it, come to Pandia Health. We'll start you up on a good one. Bet you you'll do fine. And if not, we'll know how to move to other ones to do, to decrease your amount of side effects, because we're based on science and evidence. In terms of the femtech field, I love all the players in the field, though I hope that people will see who is the founder, who is the owner, who is the CEO, and does that person have a uterus? Because if they do, maybe pick that company over another company. And also to know that perhaps some company have woman washed. If you look at their CEO, it is now a woman, but it wasn't always a woman. But I think it's great that it is a woman now, but it takes a while to clean house, I think. And then being in the femtech/sex tech is difficult, and I hope people will help us yell at Facebook and Google, because it's been difficult to advertise. I don't know if you've had this problem, Francis, but every single time we submit our ads, even though we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on Facebook, and even though we're running the exact same ad, but we just changed like 2 words and nothing like sex, penis, vagina, they won't run it, and we have to get it reviewed, and it's delayed, and it's unfair because no one else goes through that. So we need more women in charge, and we need people fighting for us, because I know there are women in marketing at Facebook, but I think it's the dudes or it's the algorithm. We need to make sure that algorithms are inclusive.
Yes,
yeah, but
that's
if
so
they
important.
can post like cactuses that are referring to penises, then it's like, okay, the algorithm just isn't. But it's the same with us too. Everything has to be manually reviewed. So the more of us there are, then the better it'll get.
Yes, absolutely. I think, it's one of those things where it is important to look at who is running these companies. And I think that's what's so great about both of Awkward Essentials and Pandia Health, how we are women led. So we have women's bodies. Like, we know we already have that perspective, which I think is just already so helpful. And someone actually left a great comment just being like, I don't even know what to follow anymore. And that's so valid. There's so much false information, especially on TikTok. TikTok is the worst. I've found, I'm 23, very Gen Z, so I am always on TikTok, yet sometimes I even have to take a break. And I think TikTok especially, and sometimes even Instagram, is very like anti-birth control, which I think is so interesting, because you'd think as a Gen Z society, which I feel like we're super progressive towards a lot of different things, birth control sometimes isn't one of them. And I think that's why it's necessary to talk to your mom, talk to other women in your family, and see what their experience was, because a lot of the times you might be similar, you might not, but it is a good place to start. So if you have that person you can talk to, that's a great way to get into it. I know Dr. Yen talked about that. So yeah, that's kind of that. But also, you both got shout outs in the comments. I don't know if you saw them, but people were saying like they love the dripstick, they love you, Francis. Someone said Dr. Yen is amazing. So I just want to say that we did get a question actually about the dripstick, and actually a really good question about if it can only be used to for semen versus like any other fluids.
We recommend it for semen. There has to be enough fluid in there for it to absorb. We don't want to promote it for other types of fluids, because there just has to be enough, right? We're trying to absorb the excess. It's not a cleaning tool. Your vagina is self-cleaning. It's simply to absorb cum or semen.
Yes. Yeah, I think again, something to mention because it's easy to get confused on these websites. Be like, what is this? It kind of looks like a tampon, like so I can see why people are like, what is this?
Oh, I want to add that it does
Oh yes.
not prevent STDs, STIs, anything. I mean, like we said at the beginning,
Or
get tested. Or pregnancy. It does not prevent pregnancy. Get tested. Trust your partner. Know who you're with. So everything that Dr. Yen said beforehand, definitely make sure that happens. But if you are in a committed relationship, it is an option, or a washcloth is an option too.
ooh,
Yeah.
um, for those that are in a committed relationship using birth control, but thinking of having a baby in the future, it's
Ooh.
good to be exposed to the semen a couple of times before you get pregnant, because there's the theory that I forget, it's hypertension of pregnancy, preeclampsia is an immune thing. It's your body attacking the baby because it's foreign.
Oh.
Been exposed to the semen beforehand, then it's less likely that you're going to have preeclampsia. So usually I recommend, condom, assume everybody has every sexually transmitted infection. And even then, your husband could have gotten HPV in the previous relationship, and giving it to you now, right when you're about to have a baby, is not a cool thing. But you may want to go 3 to 4 or 5 times without the condom just to get that semen exposure.
That's super good to know. I did not
Interesting.
know that. But
Yeah.
Pregnant.
yeah. Yes, we love a doctor pro tip. So I just wanted to kind of first of all say thank you both so much. This is so great. I always learn so much on these lives. And I love being able to then share this information with my friends and my clients. I work in fitness, but it's all kind of interrelated. I've learned that women when they are on their period, they don't want to work out as much. So it really all does tie into just like your lifestyle in general. So I think like these are really great things to talk about. And we are hoping to make these real talks into a bigger thing. So stay tuned for that. Super excited. Hoping to get more collaborators and all of that. But in the meantime, as we wrap up, I just wanted to ask both of you if you had anything you'd like to plug, any just like final takeaways, anything you'd like to share with the community. The floor is yours. Francis, we can start with you.
You guys can find us at awkwardessentials.com, or our handle is at awkwardessentials on Instagram, TikTok, on Twitter. We're Awkward Essentials because there's like a character limit. But you can email us anytime, hey@awkwardessentials.com. We have a live chat. We're here. We'd love to answer your questions and talk anytime. And if you join our email list, you might see something cool from Pandia Health and Awkward Essentials soon.
Ooh, love that. Go ahead, Dr. Yan.
Yeah, just want to anybody who wants to be on the birth control pill patch ring, come our way. We're happy to write you for the best possible prescription to prevent unplanned pregnancy, or #periods optional. And for any youngins or mothers out there, you can start turning off your periods approximately 2 years after your first period. So approximately 14 and a half. You could do it sooner if necessary, if the periods are so bad that you're missing school or work. But if you're like me and my kids aren't having that bad of a period, but they're like short little Asian girls who need to get back right, if you start soon, then they theoretically could lose 1-2 inches potential height. But if they're like 6 foot tall already, then losing an inch or two won't kill them. Or if the periods are so bad, then an inch is fine. And actually being smaller, as I've told my daughters, is better because you have a lot more to buy on the sale rack. So please share with anybody that has a uterus. #periods optional, Pandia Health /periods optional. Watch my TEDx talk on the bottom. Yes. It will blow minds, and you will decrease cancer and decrease landfill as well.
I've shared that with so many people whenever they question me about periods option. I'm like, just watch this. Like, she'll explain it better than me. But yeah, so my takeaways from all this: to like advocate for your body, advocate for your own needs. If you're a provider or if someone in your life is trying to inhibit that, it's okay to advocate for yourself and recognize that it's your body and it might not be the same as someone else's. So your experience is always different, but it's good to know that there are so many options out there, whether it's birth control or the drip stick, both, or even just a little face cloth that you like to keep by your bed or whatever that is. There's nothing really wrong with it. Of course, safety first, but make sure it's doctor tested, all that good stuff. And that's really all you can do. So thank you both so much for joining. This was so great. I didn't see any other questions, but if any questions do come up, feel free to just leave them on our YouTube or Facebook, and we'll have one of our customer care advisors get out to I definitely didn't say that right. Customer, that's not the right word. One of our people will reach out to you and answer your question. You could also social media. Again, look out for more collabs with us in the future. And thank you all so much for watching. We got so